Hello, Rockets. We're back again with Zane and the Hurricane. Zane and the Hurricane. We agreed yesterday that it is literature. It is literature. So if I'm thinking about literature, I'm being told a story. So if I'm thinking about a story in literature, I'm thinking about my story. Yes, you got it right. Elements. Hey, did you know the setting is where you go when and where the characters are the stars of the show. Next in our song, the problems, what went wrong. The solution is how we fixed it in the end. And we know as we read through the literature, we'll pick up on that plot. Say it again, plot. Beginning events, middle events, end events. And we can use those events to help us summarize, retell the most important parts of the story. So make sure you have your paper and you go ahead and you get your organizer drawn down. Do that vertical fold and then your horizontal fold so that you get your 4 boxes. Well, I've already got my setting up here. One of them is New Hampshire, which is where Zane is from. And we know that it's in the summer. I wonder if I'll come across a new setting today to add in there. And I've actually got a couple of characters up there. Zane, Mom, and Bandit. I wonder if I'll add any more characters there. Shout out to Nayland because he had already started on his organizer before I prompted him to. So excellent job. And excellent job to everyone who's going to start theirs today. All right. So when we last left off, the question that we were interested in was whether or not Zane was going to agree to go to New Orleans. Whether or not he was going to agree to go to New Orleans to visit who? His great-grandmother. Now, Zane didn't want to go, but his mom was pushing him to go because she felt like it was important that Zane got to know her family or his dad's family. Okay? Think about that. Remember, say your answer to yourself. Mom was so upset she started to cry. And Zane felt kind of bad. So let's pick up where we were to see what Zane decides to do. Zane and the Hurricane. So eventually, we came to an agreement. If the old lady let me bring Bandy, I'll agree to visit her for the last week of summer. To call that bad timing would be, as Mom later said, the understatement of the century. Because I fly down to New Orleans on a Monday in late August. The very next day, something called a tropical depression forms near the Bahama Islands, almost 1,000 miles away. A day later, they give the storm a name. They call it Katrina. And it's coming to get us. But we don't know it then. We don't know much, me and Bandit the Wonder Dog. All we know is we don't want to be there. Chapter 2. What the old lady said. What the old lady is they're talking about? The truth is, when me and Bandy first get off the plane and this old lady is waiting there with her 2 canes, one in each fist, I'm kind of scared of her. She's so wicked old and the canes look like weapons, like hitting sticks. This really ancient lady, small and hunched with her hitting sticks, her skin like the skin on milky hot chocolate when you blow across the top, all wrinkled and folded back on itself. Even her perfume smells like old flowers or something. More than anything, I want to get back on that plane and go home. But the old lady says something that changes my mind, at least a little bit. Standing there kind of wobbly on her canes, but smiling like the sun peeking through a cloud, she goes, "Young man, seems I've been waiting all my life to meet you, though I didn't even know you existed or what your name might be. The good Lord has given me a great gift. Thank you, Lord. Praise be. Zane Dupree, you are welcome in my house today and always will be. be afraid of a person who says that. You just can't. Plus, Bandy likes her. Right away, he rolls over and shows her his tummy. So that's another thing in his favor. Hello to you, too. Hello to you, too, she says, scratching behind his ears with the tip of a cane. Let me guess. This dog part Terry and the rest nobody quite sure. Is that right? Yes, ma'am, I say. Can you drag your bag and that little dog, too? Taxi cab waiting on us. When we first walk out that terminal into the heat of the city, it's like, whoa, are they kidding me? This has to be a joke. I've never been anywhere that's so unbelievably hot and humid. Like the sky is sweating and everything smells kind of stinky and moldy and wet. Wait a minute. He's in New Orleans. He says it's stinky, moldy, and wet. That makes me think back to something that we read in the beginning when he talked about New Orleans. I think we better keep reading. That's when I started to think of New Orleans as Smellyville. Oh, that's right. When he started out in chapter 1, he said my stupid trip to Smellyville. So that's why he called New Orleans Smellyville. Okay. That's when I started to think of New Orleans as Smellyville. I didn't know it then, but the wet and stinky part was about to get much, much worse. Chapter 3, Older Than Dirt. Okay, that's settled. You know how me and Bandit happened to be in New Orleans when the hurricane hit. The other thing you should probably know is that I'm what they sometimes call biracial or multiracial or whatever. White mother, black father, okay? Except if you go back to everybody who came before me, there's way more than 2 races. There's African and English and Saxon and Celts and Creole and Cherokee. And that's just for starters. I bet there's even some Chinese ancestors if you go back far enough. Turns out Trissy Jackson, my great-grandmother, has strong opinions on the subject of race and color. Multiracial? Nah, they don't say that. They don't get the true flavor. You a mixed race, boy, she says, studying my face and humming to herself, which she does all the time. Yup, you mixed, same as me. Let me explain. My daddy was a light-skinned man. They called him high yellow in his day. That was an insult, but he didn't think very high of himself come to that. See, one of my daddy's grandfathers was white, and his own mama was a Creole of color, which is partly African blood and partly French blood. So you'll hear sometimes a lot of people from New Orleans are of Creole descent, meaning they have African and they have French in them. That's their makeup. A whole class of their own. So you all kinds of mixed together, but it don't matter who was my daddy's people. My daddy was colored because African blood made you colored. Even if half your ancestors was white. Them was the rules. Them was the laws. Sounds complicated, I know, but in the day we all knew. What was what and who was who. Hardly nobody says colored now. I point out, in case she doesn't know, being so old. I just did, she says and laughs. And for your information, colored was a polite word back then. When I'm speaking of when I was a little girl. Long, long, long time ago. You and me, we got a lot of catching up to do. All your life and some that came before. Oh my, yes. From the look of you, your mama's got true blonde hair. That about right? I nod. And you got some straight hair, most except yours is darker hair. See, hair's what folks see first. Folks don't know no better, might glance at you and see only the white part on account of your hair. White boy with freckles and thick straight hair and them green eyes. Oh, but I see Gerald, your daddy, in you. Yes, I do. You got Gerald's chin, Gerald's skinny nose, Gerald's freckles, and you got his same mischievous look about you. That's a fact. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Your daddy looking at me out of your face. Yes, he do. No doubt, no doubt. Mm-hmm. The humming and the isn't regular humming. It's more like church singing, hymns. Miss Trissy still sings in the church choir every Sunday, even if it takes 2 canes to get her there. She says she has the voice of a much younger woman, and I'm to go to church with her this coming Sunday so I can hear it for myself. Much younger, she insists proudly. My singing voice so young it still go out dancing on a Saturday night. There, I made you smile, boy. When I say Miss Trissy is wicked old, I don't mean she's wicked like a bad person, because she's the opposite of that. I just mean she's really, really old. I asked how old exactly, which apparently is an impolite question. And she leans on her canes and give out a snort and goes, exactly is it? I tell you, I'm exactly older than Dirt Child, and that's all you need to know. And then she softens up and explains how it's bad luck to brag about her age, because the good Lord might be listening and have cause to remember that she's long past her sell-by date. You got no idea what that means, do you, young Mr. Dupree? I can see by your face you don't. Sell-by date is what they stamp on a carton of milk. Sell by such and such a date, because after that it go bad. So you've gone bad? I asked, trying to be funny. Oh, you terrible child. You terrible, terrible, terrible. Most of me gone bad, and that's the truth, she said, smiling. Bandy's ears perk up whenever he hears her voice, especially when she laughs, and he likes it when she scratches his tummy with the tip of a cane. You understand what we speaking of, she says to him. Ears that big, you don't miss a thing, boy. Oh, you a good one. Miss Trissy has a story about everything in a little white house. How the rug in the hallway came to be. How the glass figurines on the shelf in the dining room came from a mother who collected them. And the bowling trophy on top of the TV set is from her second husband, Henry, that died 30 years ago. There are lots of framed pictures on the wall and a drawer full of loose photographs, most of them really, really old. She shows me a small faded snapshot of 2 boys. They have their arms around each other's shoulder, and they look really happy. We're going to stop right there. I wonder who those 2 boys are with their arms around each other's shoulders in the pictures. Think about that. Do we have a new setting to add? Do we have any new characters to add? Have we come across a problem? Keep all of those things in mind. See you tomorrow, Rockets.